friends, my name is Shayla and welcome to the next episode of the Reviews Week series that I'm doing here on my channel. This is where I am catching up on a bunch of reviews for you guys of designated things, completed manga series, thoughts on series, and some books. So let's go ahead and dive right into today's episode, which is about the 10,000 Doors of January. Is it worth it? So the 10,000 Doors of January is about a girl named January who has this, it's a little bit historical fiction meets fabulous. So let me get into the description here. So we're starting in the early 1900s where we meet January as a young girl, and she's never really known her mother, or hasn't for many moons, and her father travels for his work. And so she stays with, let me make sure I say the right name here. She stays with a man named Mr. Locke. Mr. Locke is basically her dad's boss for all intents and purposes. That's the easiest way to describe him. And he tries to raise her in a very cultured home and all those kinds of things. And then from there, what happens is as January grows, she discovers she has this power where she can find specific doors and walk through them into another part of the world, or another world in and of itself. So we're dealing with some portal magic here. From there, we find out that January is actually not safe because of her powers to walk through these doors and all those kinds of things. And her father is very absentee, comes and goes. And then at one point she discovers that her father is dead. And Mr. Locke is trying to get her to join this particular society, as we say. And from there, that's kind of where our adventure goes. And there is a boy that's always really kind of cared for her, wrapped up in all of this. So my general thoughts on the 10,000 Doors of January is that I wanted more from it. When it comes to this story, I felt like I needed more of the adventures in the portal worlds than I actually got. We were so focused on what was going on in the current timeline that we didn't get to explore those portal worlds at all. And I really wanted to explore them all. The other thing I didn't mention in this is that there is a book within a book in here. So we have a book that January's reading, and that's kind of backstory and information that you need. And it's kind of spoilery, so I'm not going to really talk about the contents of the book within the book. But I do have to say that I was really kind of disappointed overall with this. I really thought it was going to be this fun, whimsical adventure, and that's not what I got. It felt a little too mechanical, I think is the word that I want to use, where clearly this was very, structured and thought out, and the whimsy didn't come through like I was expecting to. And I know I'm not the only person who has ended up disappointed overall with this book. I know some of my other friends who have read it have felt kind of similarly to me. I did buddy read this with Lindsay over at Lindsay Tutt and April over at April Sarah. I will leave them both linked down below. But I have to say that I'm just a little disappointed in this one. I really wanted more. The writing in and of itself, you can tell this is a debut to me because of the rigid structure to it. I think with a more seasoned author with the same story, we would have had a little more whimsy. It would have been a little longer and a little more fleshed out in places that were important. And maybe a few more mysterious moments, I guess you could say. But all in all, I felt like there were still plot holes by the end of the story. And I felt like we needed more from it. The character of January in and of herself was fine. I think towards the end of this novel, the author kind of forgot how naive she wrote her character for the majority of the novel. And so January ends up making some decisions that don't seem to make much sense for her particular character. So I was really surprised when those things started to happen. I mean, I think I can understand why the author made that choice, but it was definitely a choice. And not one that I particularly agree with, I guess we could say. But all in all, I would rate this one a 3-star. I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it. I think maybe even a 3.5. It was enjoyable enough. But it's not a new favorite like I hoped it was going to be. And I really just was left wanting more. I know a lot of people have been comparing this a lot to the Wayward Children series, and I personally wouldn't compare them. I haven't read the Wayward Children series, so I can't say for sure. But from everything I've heard about the Wayward Children series, this is very, very different, so I would not compare them. Especially because we're dealing with a historical fiction setting rather than a more modern setting. So anyhow, that's kind of my overall thoughts of The 10,000 Doors of January by Alix E. Harrow. This book was just something that I wanted a little more from. I'm not trying to sit here and poo-poo all over this book because it was enjoyable. And we all enjoyed it enough as we were reading it. I know Lindsay enjoyed it more than I did. And, you know, it's not the worst thing in the world by any means. I'm never going to say that. It's a decent, solid book, but it's not my new favorite like I wanted it to be. So thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you're loving this series, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.